Hey folks, welcome back. Today I want to show you something that's never been done before inside of Bitwig Studio. I built my own FFT re-synthesizer and note extractor. So this is not based on bandpass filtering, and it works kind of like a vocoder without bandpass filters. It's pure sine partial or sine oscillator based, and I'll show you in a minute how it works. But first I want to show you how it sounds, okay? Because I know some people are impatient, they want to see results first. Okay, so let's do this. So here I have some audio tracks. Okay, so this is the Rambo theme, of course. And what I do is I play a sine partial for every possible pitch, for every possible frequency, and then I combine it with the audio signal, and then I can extract the amplitude, and then I use this amplitude to play back a sine oscillator. And because it's playing back a sine oscillator, we can do some tricks. First up, we have a cutoff here, and the cutoff is not for the audio signal. It's actually for the amplitude signal to smooth it out, right? So when we pull this down, we get a stretched out kind of sound. So it's basically perfect for making ambient out of everything, because you stretch the sound out. If you push this up here, you get much faster response times, because the amplitude is, you know, changing faster. But it's very unpleasant to hear. But you can do it. Maybe it gives you some interesting distortion. It's a spectral distortion device at this point, probably. So yeah, you can do this. Then, because we are playing back a sine partial to play back the audio amplitude, we can just shift the octave of this. Right, so it plays back one octave higher. So this is basically perfect if you want to put a reverb on this and make a spectral shimmer reverb. So you can overlay the original audio with some pitched up version of itself, and then put a reverb on it, and you have a much fatter layer, and it sounds kind of cool, and you can use it for ambient or some other interesting ideas, or just here, like I did as a spectral shimmer reverb. So that's that. Then we have here something like note delay. So when you have fast response times, we can take each sine partial and delay it slightly longer than the partial before. And it's more like a disperser working on audio, but here it's working on the amplitude or the delayed amplitude. So it gives you this typical spectral flair. Maybe you try it out on bass lines. Maybe it's perfect for color bass. I have no idea. I haven't tried it out yet. So this is the note delay. Then the cutoff, and this one here is for smoothing. The amplitude is pretty self-explanatory, and octave shift here. Then we have scale off. So when you disable this, when it's off, or when the scale off is off, then it removes all the partials that are not in the scale of what you are selected here with the global scale selector. So if you select a D sharp minor, for instance, right, all the partials that are not in the scale detected in here are not played back. So it's not pitch correction, it's more like, let's remove all the harmonics that are not in the scale and leave the rest untouched. So this is my my idea for this here, instead of correcting, because I had some problems with certain partials moving then to the same note. And it doesn't sound really well in my opinion, so I leave just everything untouched that's not, or that's in the scale, and what's out of the scale is just removed. So leave this on if you want to have all partials. So by default this is also on. But sometimes it can help, right? When you play something on the piano and you want to have a sample playing on top, but it's not really in the scale, but it's also not really out of the scale. So here you can just remove everything that's not in the scale. So that's the Re-Synthesizer. Also very unusual with this Re-Synthesizer is that every partial is on a note. Usually with FFT is you take a frequency range, let's say 20 Hertz to 20K, and then you divide this up into equal parts. I don't know, 1000 bins or whatever. And then sometimes some of these partials are on a note, sometimes they're out of the scale, sometimes they're between the notes and so on. So it's not musically spread out. That's what I want to say. So this one here is very musical spread out. I don't know if this is actually a problem. Maybe that's because why it sounds this way. But I basically put a sine partial on every note. So here I have the first octave, C1 to C2, and then there's one patch. This patch has 12 voice stacks for every note in this octave. So C1, C sharp 1, D1, and so on. And every note gets this patch. And this patch uses a sine partial here, which then is the split up into sine and cosine. So it's basically sine just phase shifted by 180 degree, or phase inverted, phase flipped. And then we multiply this with the audio signal and we get the amplitude out of the audio signal of exactly this frequency. I show you this in a minute how it works. But this is basically here the patch. So this is the patch here to extract basically the frequency bin, and then I use here a sine partial to play back what I extracted and add here the amplitude the extracted amplitude, using then this here to play back the sine wave. And we can here change the octave and so on. You can also change here the sine partial for something else if you want to. So this is roughly how it works. Very simple actually. You can also extract the phase of the frequency here of this audio signal if you want to, because we have the sine and the cosine, and then you can you get an amplitude for the cosine, you get an amplitude for the sine, and then if you compare this to the audio signal, you can kind of triangulate where the position is of the sine in the audio signal, and then you get kind of a phase position out of this, and then you can add it here also to the sine oscillator if you want to. But it needed to, you know, I needed to add more modules here, and I want to keep it simple, and it also sounded very okay-ish to my ears already without cloning the phase. But you can do it, and maybe I'll do also a patch here in the future for that. Anyway, I just want to show you this here. I'll show you in a minute how it's been built. But I want to focus now on another preset here, which is called FFT Note Extract. And it does exactly what the name says. It tries to extract the notes from an audio signal. So here we have, again, audio signal already here tries to find some notes, and we can just use your synthesizer and play these notes back with the synthesizer. But we can also create another instrument track here, arm this, and as an input we use audio 1, which is this audio track here, right? So now we receive MIDI notes from this patch here. But we also need to add here, of course, an instrument. For instance, piano take 8. Again here, this is the cutoff, works exactly like the cutoff in this preset. And yeah, if you push this up here, you get faster response times, but also a lot of more garbage. And if you pull this down, you get more of the harmonics, or more of the longer drawn out notes. It works probably better here on this ambient track or on this single audio track. So let's choose here a different preset. And then we can use here on this one, transpose, no transpose, push it up 1 octave, maybe use a quantizer so we can quantize this to the BPM here, 110. It's probably not the correct BPM for this track here, but anyway. Maybe make this longer, put the reverb on that. Just play it on top. Yeah, it's fun. It's not always detecting the right notes, of course. It's a very simple implementation, my amateurish kind of implementation. But it's fun, it kind of works, and I learned something. You probably also learned something. It's fun to play around with, and it doesn't cost anything. You can download this for free on my Patreon or under my in the description here. So why not do it, right? Of course, it's not that precise like a VST or any other plugin, but you get something out of it, and it's fun. Okay, so now that we have this, I show you how it works. And for that, we need an FX grid. This one here. And all we have to do, it's actually not very hard. It's very simple, if you think about it. We take a sine oscillator here and we put this on a specific frequency. So we use a constant here and pitch to hertz to pitch. We put this on a specific frequency, let's say 1 kilohertz, 1000 hertz. And then we multiply this with the audio signal. We take this here in the first input, and then the audio signal, we use the audio signal to amplify actually the sine oscillator. And then we get something out. Let's use here an oscilloscope. When we put audio in, of course. So I use here test tone. Test tone, I go to 1 kilohertz. And I use here a bit of amplitude. And we use here sine. Okay, so we get something out, and if we change the frequency, you can see it's very wild. But when we go back to 1 kilohertz, it looks different, right? It looks a bit different. So with this knowledge, we can already use a filter, so we try to smooth the signal down. So we go into a filter here. Maybe use a different color here. Use yellow. And we use a low pass, maybe a very steep one. And we try to use the lowest frequency there is. At the moment, the lowest one is here 19.4 hertz, which is okay, I guess, for this experiment. But you can go lower. So you can take a constant here, go back to C3, it's the middle position. Go in here and say -1, then push this down. So now this is the lowest. I think this goes down to at least 0 hertz. So we can go up here to maybe 6. Let's try this first. You can see here, it's actually not that wild anymore as a signal compared to this one. Maybe use a second oscillator here. So it's a different signal just by filtering this. So now we change the frequency. You can see it goes back to 0. So we have no amplitude here, except when we go to 1 kilohertz. Then we get something. So we can extract or can sense or detect that there is some kind of input on exactly this frequency. Here it's just one single test tone, of course, but when you have an audio signal, yeah, you can extract basically single frequencies just with this. In my patch then, I used, instead of just using here the sine, I'm also using a second sine oscillator here, but this one is offset by 180 degrees, so it's the cosine basically. I actually take here an oscilloscope. It's very hard to see, but it's actually exactly the opposite. So it fills in the gaps. So when this first oscillator goes down, this one goes up, and so on. So we have the sine and the cosine. But instead of using 2 oscillators here and one is offset, I'm using just one. And I use the dome filter here, which is a new module, which gives us here the sine and the cosine as a second output. So here I'm doing the same thing with the audio signal, but here with the cosine, and go also into a filter with the same, with the same position here, same filter position. And here we get a different position from this one. Maybe use also a different color. Right, so this is the sine, this is the cosine here, and you can extract actually the phase from this. So because we have the sine and the cosine, we multiply then this with the audio signal, and dependent on the level from the sine and the cosine, we can kind of triangulate where the original audio phase position is. I don't do this in my patch because it needs more modules, and I don't think it's needed, but you can do it. So this is how you can extract actually the phase. But what we do then is we multiply the signal with itself. So we have only positive value also here, and then we add these two together. Just an addition, and then we take the root, the square root, how's it called in English, square root, from this, and this is our amplitude here. So you can see we have the test frequency on 1 kilohertz, and we have an amplitude, and we change the frequency, it goes down. We are not on 1K anymore, and we don't get an amplitude or value here until we hit 1K. Then we get something, right? And the filtering gives you a response time. So when you have this open, you get much more wilder results here, as you can see, right? It responds much faster, but you get also garbage here for frequencies that are not 1K. We try to filter everything out. 1K. So that's kind of the thing you try to find, the sweet spot between responsiveness and getting actually a real pitch harmonic out of this. But it kind of works. So this is what I did basically for one frequency. And we can, of course, instead of using here a test tone, we can use an audio signal here. Let this play back and then see what's going on at 500 Hertz. There's probably something, right? And you can see here, there's something happening at some point. Probably more 200 Hertz. Yeah, 200 Hertz, there's more action. Yeah, and then you can extract basically the amplitude of exactly this frequency out of an audio signal. So this is what I did. This is how it works roughly. Like I said, I put you here the presets in the description on my Patreon. You can download this. Leave a thumbs up, leave a subscription. Maybe think about a Patreon subscription would be nice. But you can download this for free. Okay, you don't need to. That's it. FFT re-synthesizer, FFT note extraction in Bitwig without VST instruments or any modules. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.